أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
पनाह मांगता हूँ अल्लाह की शैतान मरदूद से।
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
अल्लाह के नाम से जो रहमान और रहीम है।
Assalamu alaikum, my viewers. A very warm welcome to all of you watching Hidayat TV. I'm Haider with another episode of Generation Gap. Viewers, we continue our exclusive coverage on Pakistan elections and try to bring different point of views from all across the world. Today, without going into detail, I want to introduce my panel. Dr. Zaim Zia from Oklahoma. He's originally from Gilgit-Baltistan and a Fulbright scholar on health policy from Johns Hopkins University and University of Oklahoma. He's based in Oklahoma and he's been writing on Daily Times, Friday Times, and also contributes on LUBP website. Also with me from Turkmenistan, Almaty, is Asif Zaidi. He's a bright country head of a financial institution. He's been involved in writing and he's been oral communicator, has done so many conferences and participated in different panels, long and rich leadership experience in the profession, fluent in Urdu, English, French, Punjabi, and Saraiki, as well as in Russian. He also writes and contributes on LUBP. On the other side, we do have Ale Natik from London. He is social activist and media blogger and writes on LUBP and contributes to different web blogs. From California, we have also Ali Taj. He heads LUBP website and also contributes regularly on this. Assalamu alaikum and very warm welcome to all of you for joining us. Let me start with Dr. Zaim. Dr. Zaim, first question regarding by next Saturday, we will be able to find out is Pakistan is leaning towards more radicalized Pakistan or is going to be more progressive. So what is your take on that? Opening remarks, please.
Thank you, Tessin. The problem right now is that the secular parties are being persecuted, and they are not allowed to do any campaigns for their elections. It looks a little dirty at this time because the right wingers are doing their campaign like openly. On the other hand, Taliban has waged war openly against PPP, MQM, and ANP, so that might be a problem. It looks like it's favorable for the right wingers at this moment, but let's hope that people come out and vote for the secular parties so that there will be a balance of the power between the right wingers and the left wingers. Okay,
let's move to Asif Zaidi. Asif, what's your view on that? Do you think it's going to be a right wings being in power in next 7 or 8 days?
Yeah, it's thank you, Tessin. Look, it's very difficult to forecast the result of the elections, but what we all know is that this is a very important year in the history of Pakistan. There are very significant movements afoot. One, obviously, there will be change of guard in the president and chief of army and the government all together in 1 year, plus the chief justice. Mm-hmm. Plus the Americans and NATO will withdraw from Afghanistan next year. Mm-hmm. In terms of elections, the first most important change or significant development that these elections have spent is that these elections have paved the way for the entry or acceptance of extremists in the mainstream politics. Now, to answer your question precisely, I think that this is a skewed democratic process where the secular parties are not being allowed to campaign to their fullest potential. Their candidates are being harassed, their voters are being confined to their homes. Let's hope that things get better from here to 11th of May. But if Taliban and the extremists are able to carry out all the threats that they are spelling out, then I'm afraid that this election will turn into power a government that is friendlier towards Taliban and extremism. But if we are able to somehow manage a fair electoral process as per the international convention where everybody can vote freely, then I am quite sanguine and hopeful that we will see a more balanced parliament. Thank you.
Okay. Ali, I want to bring Ali Natik. I want to bring you in with this. I just want to add this. You know, Nawaz Sharif has been propagating his message for a brighter Pakistan. On the other side, Imran Khan is for a newer, younger Pakistan. So, do you think the progressive Pakistan is lost in between or lost in the translation?
I think there is no level playing field here. Elections in any country require a level playing field for all parties, all political parties, and give them an equal opportunity, which unfortunately have been missing here. I mean, if I borrow the words of Muhammad Hanif, who very rightly summed up the whole situation the other night, saying, if you shoot in the legs of 3 participants of a race and then ask them to compete with other contestants, would you call this a fair race? Definitely not. This is not a fair competition. On one hand, you have Tehreek-e-Taliban releasing video messages, campaigning in the elections, actually. I wouldn't say that they are closely watching the elections. They have become a major player in these elections. They are campaigning like any other political party. They are releasing video messages every day and talking the language which actually the election candidates should be speaking. And they are targeting the prospective rulers or the candidates of the progressive secular parties, becoming a major player in the elections. So we have a very fundamentalist right-wing a kind of coalition, not just in form of the parties competing, but here we have Taliban kind of working for them indirectly, who are targeting the candidates of secular parties. And what we have left on the table is a hodgepodge mix of political hyper-nationalist parties from which people of Pakistan have to choose from. So I wouldn't really call it an election. This is a plain selection process where you don't have much choices available on the table.
Okay, Ali, he has mentioned selection. So do you agree with the statement? I mean, is it a selection or is it going to be a so-called free and fair election?
There's 2 parts to it. I agree with Ali broadly what he's saying, but there is one part which is the actual election, in which I think we will have a very fair election in the sense that everybody will vote on an Aadhaar ID, and that's never happened before. The riggings that used to be traditionally done in Pakistan, where you have 35 million votes, everybody had their own votes. People had candidates had 35,000 fake IDs or fake ID cards. That's not there anymore. So all that traditional rigging has gone away, thanks to the information age, and quite honestly, credit to the current People's Party. They have implemented a system which these traditionalist right-wing parties were quite opposed to, but actually did help Imran Khan's PTI, and he had been pushing for it too. So the level playing field on the election day will be there. What Al is talking about is pre-election. These parties are not allowed to do any convening. They're not allowed to reach out to their voters. They're not allowed to go door to door because just yesterday, as you can see, these animals killed the election candidate in Karachi's...
For the ANP.
Right.
In NA 254, yes.
And not only killed the candidate, but killed his 6-year-old son. No, what kind of animals do that?
And they were walking out of the mosque as well. I think we must focus on this as well. They were walking out of mosque. Okay.
But so there's only really 2 parties. I've been saying this for 2 years. There's only really 2 parties. The parties that the Taliban are against and the parties that the Taliban are for. And that should give you the gravity of their influence. So, but with respect to Ali Natik, he's right that you've shot 3 of the participants in the legs, but on the very election day, if the other participants trip up or something, the race is still gonna be fair. So I don't think anybody should be so disappointed. I think you know, the people of Pakistan are very mature, and they're gonna do the right thing.
Okay, let me bring in Zaim. Zaim, obviously we've been talking about pro-Taliban and parties which are against Taliban. Do you see, actually, I mean, make me understand the role of military in all this. I mean, we have seen a powerful speech on 1st of May by General Kiani. He has made it clear, let there be no doubt, that elections will be held on 11th. And obviously, he has been pushing for this mixed message as well, that we're not going to negotiate with Taliban, but who accepts the writ of Pakistani constitution, we will allow them to get into mainstream. So what is this mixed message?
There seems to be a disconnect between the military, within the military, because what is so difficult to identify the people who are creating a problem within that small part of the world, knowing the fact that our intelligence agencies or the intelligence agencies of Pakistan are much more stronger than what you can even imagine. And why can't they just counter that, number one? The second thing is, it was really amazing to see that General Kiani has openly challenged them, and but at the same time, we need to understand that the intelligence system that we have should be more diligent and more accurate, so that we could stop these things going on. I would like to quote Rehman Malik, our ex
Interior Minister.
Minister Interior, yes. So he said it's the election between the pro-Taliban and anti-Taliban parties. Knowing the fact that the 35 million vote has been removed from the ballot, which was supposed to be the intelligence agency's vote in that part of the world. So that's going to help the secular parties more. But at the same time, our leaders who are being spokesmen of Taliban, like the other day, Imran Khan said, Benazir Bhutto was not killed by. So if we have people like these supporting or trying to bring good image to Taliban in Pakistan, then this is going to be really, really ugly. So we have to understand that we have to support our military for the intervention. And there are people who still ask that in 5 years, those three coalition partners, they didn't do nothing. But knowing, I think they forget the fact that Swat election and Waziristan election operation was started by these secular parties, and they have just an excuse that it was just the military that has taken the stance, but it was this government that has taken the stance against these militants. And I was watching another video the other day from Chitral Valley. They are moving in, and they are like openly waging war against the military and our secular parties. So this is a very dangerous situation right now. I think the only way to deal with them is to pound them back to their own countries from where they are. And our leaders should understand that it's not just airspace violation, but they're like land violation as well, when the people from other countries are within Waziristan and they're operating from there. And our leaders, like the right wingers, like Imran Khan, should understand that it's not only the airspace, and he should acknowledge the fact that there are foreigners in Waziristan, and he should support the notion that we have to. And they're not here just to negotiate with us. These people are not here. They are here to take Pakistan. If somebody thinks that, oh, I'm going to speak to them and they're going to leave when you're in power, no, that's not happening.
But I mean,
our leaders need to be.
Okay, let me bring in Asif in. But the narrative they use is the Irish model, as well as they say that you have to talk to these people. You did it in the past. You need to do it again. And you were saying about Imran Khan. I mean, they have got this very strong point of view, which I think that they say you have to separate these two Uzbeks, Tajiks, and people who've been residing in Waziristan and the Tiraz areas, and also people who are involved, like in Lashkar-e-Jhang in Pakistan. So do you think that these two are not tangled up issues, and they are separate issues? Asif, can you hear us?
Yeah, no, thank you, Tessin. One, yes, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm here. One, as regards the army, very briefly, army.
I think we are losing Asif. So let me move on to Ali. Ali, do you think the same question for you?
I think I'll quickly go back to the.
Ali, please go ahead.
I'll quickly go back to the question you asked, Zaim, about the security being provided by the military. I think if you've seen the Taliban, just like they released the video messages saying they will attack ANP, MQM, or People's Party, they also released a video message about Musharraf saying they will attack him. They showed a whole team of dozens of suicide bombers and equipment and ammunition going to attack Musharraf and make him leave Pakistan. But the military managed to protect Musharraf. The security was provided to him, and it has been 2 times that a vehicle full of explosives was found outside Musharraf's residence. It was captured, so there was security provided to him. So I don't understand why similar kind of security cannot be provided to these secular progressive parties. So at some level, I do see the military being a part of this situation some way. The other question, sorry, I couldn't catch your other question because of your noise being distorted.
Okay. I want to ask you, you know, if we take this theory ahead that we should negotiate with Taliban, that who will decide that which part of the Taliban and how we will negotiate?
Well, I mean, one of the Zawahiri, somewhere between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and when you have different known Al-Qaeda terrorists running around, and you may come out and make a statement that Al-Qaeda doesn't exist in Pakistan, you're just being factually incorrect. So keeping that in perspective, if we project forward and kind of assume that that you're going to have a situation where you may have these, you know, I mean, right-wing people, or let's just say Imran Khan or Nawaz Sharif come into the power forefront, they would have to actually correct their facts. They've been using facts which actually don't exist so far in terms of their policy towards the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. You know, they've been saying that they don't exist. These are our friends. But once they actually, if they do come into power, and they would have to have a more fact-based stance. And I do think, you know, while they are favored by Taliban right now, I do not believe they are actually Taliban, and I do believe that you know, just to be fair, that that they are going to take a you know somewhat of a strong position against these people. So while Taliban may think that these are their darling parties, eventually in the end they're actually not Taliban. They're, you know, they are normal political parties which may be right wing, but they are not Taliban for sure.
Okay, you know, moving on to this ANP, PPP, and obviously MQM triangle. I mean, they've been in the power for the last 5 years, and obviously they have successfully, as Zaim was mentioning, they've been successful in doing the Sabat operation. But do you think they should have done more in terms of whatever they're seeing through now? They should have seen it earlier, and they should have been collected in a more positive force against this whole radicalization. Zaim, please.
Well, when we talk about the previous government, we should understand that the previous government was not just one party. It was a mix-up, and it was a very weak government, and that completed 5 years. And the steps that they have taken, and very bold stance against the terrorism and zero tolerance. We do understand that there has been governance problems, and I'm not saying that it was perfectly all right, but the transition from the dictatorship towards democracy is always rough. Knowing the fact that over the past, I mean, 65 years, 35 years have been dictatorship, and then, you know, all those 30 years have been like each on the average, 10 months, one government has fallen. So what we need to do is to strengthen the democracy, no matter who it is, but we have to identify our enemy, that they have openly waged war, and they're sending the video messages through the Facebook and social media, and even openly they are calling to the you know, the news channels, and they are speaking to them. This is an open you know, a threat for everybody, like including us, that they're there and they're part of our society, and knowing why they are there. If we let them indulge in politics or give them enough room to hatch more terrorists, that will be more alarming. And we have to strengthen the process of democracy so that we would. The reason why India today is more has a good image in the world is because of their democracy. If we don't confuse with that, and we have to strengthen military and police. We do understand that we had to support our government for the police reforms, which for some reason we couldn't do that. But I think the new government, whosoever it will be, should focus on the empowerment of the police and intelligence system. They should do their job rather doing the politics and deal with the problems and the threats.
Okay, you've been talking about strengthening the civilian setup, and Asif, if you can hear us. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think we lost earlier. Role of military establishment. How important and how easier it is for civilian setup to confine the military establishment into their barracks and just let them do their role, which is just to guard in the provide, do these operations and just be part of the process, not be in the process itself. How easier do you think it is?
Look, it has always been a dynamic process in Pakistan. It has never been easy to confine the military bricks or their professional duties, because they think that they are the ideological guardians and trendsetters for Pakistan. But there are a number of variables in it. One, who is in the government? If it is a government that is viewed as the right wing or is more trusted by the establishment, then they have a greater leverage. People's Party or MQM or the previous government had a much smaller leverage in that respect. Second, it depends on what kind of majority you have in the parliament and the system and who leads the government. But at this point in time, this last government had very little leverage on the military because they were beset with one crisis after the other. We saw the memo crisis, we saw this crisis, we saw the ambassador to the US crisis at the beginning. So, one crisis unfolded after the other, which meant, and we saw at the beginning onset, we saw the crisis when they tried to wrest control of ISI from the military, which is probably how it should be in a civilian government. But this meant that they had to deal with one situation of instability after the other. So the last government had very little control on the military or its ideas. Control on military means when you are able, as a civilian government, when you are able to control the foreign policy and the security matters, that means that you are somewhat in the saddle in terms of these, particular aspects. Otherwise, the military takes the commanding role. The next government, hopefully, we get look, as Zaim said, democracy is the way. There's no other way for Pakistan, and it's in all our interest to get a strong democratic government to strengthen the process to hold free and fair elections. So my only hope is that the next government has a bigger handle on the situation, and especially on the matters which are very important and essential to Pakistan now, which are foreign policy and which are security matters, and which are the matters in terms of being able to decide on terrorism, on tackling extremism, and policy towards Afghanistan.
Okay. Ali Natik, I want to bring in, we've been discussing the role of military and now we're talking about the internal affairs security. Now I want to move on towards the foreign affairs involving these elections. We are seeing, as we mentioned in the earlier as well, that we can see Iranian elections in next month, and then obviously we do have Indian elections coming up in 2014 as well. We've got a new Chinese premier, Russian president. So how do you see these events unfolding altogether for a next government which will be in Pakistan?
Well, I think, as we all know, a lot of analysts have been talking about that, not just our internal Pakistan establishment, but international establishment also have set an eye on the two provinces bordering Afghanistan, which is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, and they want a Taliban-friendly government in those regions, considering the U.S. exit from Afghanistan. But just to connect the dots and to see it in a bigger picture, when we have to look at the whole scenario. I mean, if you look at who are the people the Taliban have been attacking, it's not just a war on the secular, liberal, or progressive ideas. It's a war on the state of Pakistan, on all of us. The way we want to live our lives, the way we want to conduct this state, and the affairs of the state going forward. They've not only attacked these three parties. I mean, half of the attacks have been on ANP, three major bomb blasts on MQM, brain attacks on PPP. In a period of 30 days, more than 65 people have been killed. But they also included Shia candidates, women, and even non-Shia candidates who spoke for the Shia. I'll give you two examples. One is Noor Akbar Khan, who was an independent Shia candidate from Orakzai agency. He was killed in his office by a suicidal attack with 5 other people. The next one is Dr. Ibrahim Jatoi, who was attacked with a suicide bomber in Shikarpur, internal Sindh, which is the first of its nature suicidal attack in internal Sindh in the history of the province. Then these are the two Shia candidates I'm giving examples. There are more examples as well. It's very interesting to see the example of Maulana Shirani of JUIF, who has been very vocal on the persecution of the Shia. And the day he did his very important speech in Balochistan, in which he blamed Saudi Arabia and saying that there's a funded religio-political group in Pakistan by Saudi Arabia who is doing the Shia persecution, the day after that, his rally is attacked with rockets. So you see, it's not just secular, liberal, or progressive parties. They have been attacking Shias. They have attacked a leader of the Sunni Tahreek called Khurram Qadri in Lahore, and they have also threatened women candidates. And one example is Gulana Bibi in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They visited her house 2 times and asked her to take her nomination papers back, which she had to do. So this is an ideological war, and the people who think that this is only a war on these secular liberal parties and by appeasing them they will be spared, they are completely wrong. I mean, if you look at the 3 videos that they have released, in the first video they said they will attack the secular parties. In the second one they said they have a kind of soft corner for the religio-political parties. But when these religio-political parties started appeasing them and thinking that the attacks on them will stop, the third video is very important, in which the message is the Kafirs want to divide Muslims using democracy, and that we are not in favor of democracy. Democracy is from Christians and Jews. So this is a clear message for PMLN, for PTI, and religio-political parties.
I mean, this is very important as well. The parties which have been appeasing Taliban and the pro-Taliban parties which have been considered to be, on the Taliban on the other side, they have released these videos and they're giving these messages, distributing the pamphlets, saying that democracy is an imported system which does not have any roots going back in Islam. So do you see there, do you see any conflict of, their point of view is totally different as well. They're trying to appease them, but they're not even acknowledging those parties.
Well, you have to treat Taliban as a major political player, like I said in the start. They are like any other political party in these elections. They are a major player. So they are doing their own election campaign. They started with bombs, threatening the secular parties, the Shia, and then attacking them. But when they saw that the religio-political or right-wing or center-right parties are kind of in the impression that they will be spared or that they have a space in this, they immediately released a third video message clarifying that no, there's no space for democracy. There's no space for electoral process. So they have a clear ideology. They have a clear political vision for Pakistan, and they are doing that through bombs, through violence, and through their video messages.
Okay, Ali Taj, I want to bring in, I mean, you mentioned this earlier as well, that Taliban are there and they are a major political force. So do you think Imran Khan, or if the right-wingers come in power and they have to deal with these people,
they will have to confront them. In fact, I mean, when they actually come to when Imran Khan actually tried to visit Waziristan, he couldn't do it because there was too much danger for him. Even the head of Jamaat-e-Islami, which is clearly more to the right than Imran Khan is, or Nawaz Sharif is, they have been threatened. They've been, under attack from these Taliban's. These people are basically animals. There is no.
So basically, that could be. I mean, if you look at Imran Khan's politics only, so that, from his point of view, it could be a good strategy to combat this. That at least he is giving this message that he will negotiate, and obviously, when he will find out that these are the people who are not actually.
The statements he's been making, unfortunately, that's why I referred to this Abbas Nasser article in Dawn yesterday. The statements he's been making is totally factless. Saying that there's no Al Qaeda in Pakistan is like saying, there's no water in the Indus. Okay. So it's just simply not true. When these people actually have to deal with facts, things are going to change completely. So. I mean, I'm a firm believer in the democratic process, and I think that whoever wins this election fairly and squarely, we should support. And this election is a very, very important one for Pakistan. It could be make or break for Pakistan. So we have to be very balanced in accepting whatever the outcome, even though it is. Like Alan Atik has correctly pointed out, may not be a level playing field, but democracy is an evolution. Even in Western developed countries, sometimes it's not a level playing field. Sometimes one candidate has a lot more money than the other. Sometimes vested interest plays. Sometimes there's there's all kinds of things. It's never completely level playing field. It's not a perfect system. It's a system. It's a good system, and I think Pakistan should look forward to this election, even though it is very bloody.
It will not be free and fair. Okay, Asif, I want to ask you, but we are talking about the foreign. I mean, I want to bring in this foreign element again. Imran Khan or Nawaz Sharif, as predicted at the moment, let's say if they are in power, so how they will tackle these international players? What is your take on that, including Saudi Arabia, Iran, America, especially?
Thanks, Tassin. Both of them have given a view that is totally divergent. One's view is completely different from the others. I think if Imran is voted into power, going by his view, he is not aligned with any foreign power, or he does not have a benign view towards a foreign power as compared to the other. So his policy basically is to deal with all the foreign powers by keeping Pakistan's interest first and foremost. Nawaz Sharif is slightly different. His proximity to Saudi Arabia is probably now known to all and sundry, and his previous rule evinced that, manifested that, and his stay in Saudi Arabia for a long time has brought him closer to the ruling elite and the government in Saudi Arabia. So I would feel that where Imran is being naive and simplistic, or probably driven by an ideology which is not practicable, he thinks that Taliban are the schoolboys who are playing with toys, and Imran will make sense to them and they will give up their toys and clean the roads in Karachi and Lahore. That is not going to happen.
No, but these were the schoolboys of military establishment.
Real test will be on Afghanistan.
Okay.
In terms of Saudi Arabia or Iran, I don't know. I don't think he is beholden to one country as compared to the other.
Mm-hmm. And what about America's role in particular? I mean, he's been saying that we will not beg for any aid, and it will be more about trade, and we will go more towards east. So what, do you see any concrete policies around that? You do have very talented individuals around him. So do you see any hope around?
Yeah, there has been a lot of populist and jingoistic rhetoric on that. But I have not seen any game plan or any framework backing that up. Every government that comes into power writes the populist sentiment that they will distance themselves from America, they will do this and that. But once they are in the government, the reality sinks home and the stance changes. Imran If you look at the Pakistan's economy, if you look at the GDP rate, if you look at the indebtedness, it is very difficult to break away from the international monetary system, which is pretty much, if not controlled, dominated by the US. So I think once he comes into the power, he will realize that he will have to strike a balance. He will have to strike a balance. He cannot alienate or throw out the US from day one. He will have to strike a balance whereby we'll probably reduce our dependence on the US aid and on the Bretton Woods institution. But if you go to East, I mean, East is fine, China and other countries. But if you look at if you look at the hard numbers, let's do some number crunching. When we had the earthquake, who was the biggest donor to Pakistan? US gave Pakistan more money than all other countries put together. When you fought a war, you can say it was US's bidding, but US has been the biggest donor to our army in and year out. You cannot just dissociate yourself all of a sudden, but probably if your GDP growth rate, if you register a GDP growth rate of 7 to 8% over the next 5-7 years, if your exports grow at a healthy rate, then you can slowly and gradually reduce your dependence. So look, what politicians say before the elections, especially in countries like ours, has a lot of populist element to it. How much of that is practicable is known when they come into power and they readjust their stance. Mr. Sharif is making promises also. He wants to make a bullet train from everywhere in Pakistan.
Yeah, I want to bring in Zaim now. Talking about the bullet train and these charge emotions, promises. I mean, what's the difference you see between these two, especially PTI and PMLN? How will they be treated and how they will manage US, Iran and Saudi Arabia in particular? Just very quickly, please.
Yeah, the difference I see between PTI and PMLN is very simple. PMLN is very much closer in reality, not in reality, it is much closer to the extremists and the parties that drive extremism in Pakistan and which are beholden to certain Arab countries. PTI at the same time is, Imran is driven by an ideology and the people who are around him, but he is not really in the inner circle of that coterie which drives this ideology in this region. That is first difference. Second difference is that PMLN is a party that, or a setup that cannot afford to upset Saudi Arabia.
Okay, and PTI is more in the center. Okay, let me bring in Zaim, please, on the same issue. How do you see Zaim? Very quickly, please.
I don't think we can hear Zaim.
Zaim, can you hear us?
No, you muted him.
Okay.
Please.
First, I would begin with Imran Khan's rhetoric that he's going to bring in change in like 90 days. He's going to make a difference in 30 days. But I understand that he might have a lot of people who surround him, and there might be but when he talks about the corruption in the country, in Pakistan, he just forgets the fact that majority, most of the corruption is either in bureaucracy or in establishment, and he can't dare to raise his fingers to them, pointing them. These are the people.
So it's a more
it's just blaming the victim.
Okay. Yeah.
And actually, no one talks about the corruption in the judiciary, which I think is the right now the biggest source of corruption. Where there's 70,000 Pakistanis dead, and not a single person has been convicted of a terrorist act. So
okay, yeah,
there's very serious problem.
And I think they blame the prosecution for it. But okay, Zaim, please go ahead.
Yeah, and then I'm not supporting any kind of corruption in the politicians. At the same time, Imran Khan and the right wingers should understand that just blaming it on ANP, PPP, and MQM is completely injustice. Now, recently we are seeing that there is a very dangerous move where Baitullah Masood says 75% of youth in Pakistan wants Sharia in Pakistan, and they are working for the people of Pakistan. So this is one perspective that they are coming forward with. So this is very dangerous. The second one is like the persecution. Our people as a nation, I don't know what's wrong with us. I mean, we are so insensitive toward the persecution of each community. It's Shias, it's Christians, it's Jews, or anybody. Like, whosoever lives within Pakistan is a Pakistani national and should be treated as a Pakistani national. And most of the people and the politicians are indifferent about it. And up on top of that, what is our establishment doing? What is bureaucracy doing? So we just blame it on the politicians. I am a pro-politician, but at the same time, there should be a check and balance on them as well. And then another thing what's going on is legitimizing the persecution of these three political parties on the left wing, and based on mere governance issues was very, very alarming. And people are actually, like, the youth, which we call is.
But don't you think it's more about, I mean, if you look from the right wingers, don't you think it's more about a sympathetic approach from these left secular and liberal parties? They haven't delivered anything, and let's be honest about it, they haven't done anything. So now they have this sympathy vote around it, that we have been attacked and we have lost these. With all due respect, that these are the parties who have given their lives for the country.
Tehseen, I completely. I would not completely disagree with you, but there are certain facts that we have to understand. In these past 5 years, there's been a lot of legislation regarding the provincial autonomies, so many other things going on. Like, it's not that they have done the corruption at that time, all those 5 years, but we have to understand that merely based on the governance issues, you cannot legitimize the persecution of people of Pakistan. I'm not baking anybody, but at the same time, if you look at what PPP and NP and MQM have done, is given that establishment and judiciary and our bureaucracy has so much tight control over the happenings in Pakistan, they still have done pretty much a good job in terms of legislation, in terms of founding Taliban back from SWAT, like BISP, and so many other things that they have done. I mean, let's look at them as well.
Okay, very last moments. Let me start with Ali Taj. Number crunching. In 7 days, 272 National Assembly seats. How many seats you think, who is going to win this election and who will be the premier? 30 seconds, please.
This very unpredictable election.
Do you still think it's very unpredictable?
Absolutely, because you have a third big force, which is PTI. So it could cut both ways. I mean, this has been very much talked about. Punjab is the battleground, obviously. And one thing I will say is, People's Party will at least get 65, 70 seats.
65, 70. And PTP?
That is, you can say, you can take that to the bank. There is a People's Party vote bank that nobody can touch.
Okay. So do you see People's Party being being in the coalition, next government?
Oh, it could be. I mean, if you have a situation in Punjab where, a People's Party has a seat in a constituency which has 50,000 votes, and traditionally that seat has been won by Nawaz Sharif because he's been getting 80,000 votes, but here in comes Imran Khan and cuts it down in half.
So wherever you see this triangular fight, I think there's a People's Party got a chance there. Okay, who is...
People's Party so this could be a huge upsetting kind of election. You may find People's Party wins 150 seats.
Okay.
But you may find that People's Party wins 75 seats.
I would say that's very wishful thinking. Let me move on to Ali Natik. Who is your next premier?
I think the unpredictable factor in these elections is the millions of new voters registered. And this is a generation raised on TV talk shows, completely detached from constitutional politics and having no idea of how the constitutional politics work. So if these voters come out to vote and who they vote for, that is the deciding factor. But if everything remains how traditional politics has been working in Pakistan, I see People's Party getting between 60 and 70 seats, PMLN between 90 and 100, and PTI between 30 and 40.
Okay. Okay. Who is your premier? Who is your prime minister?
I think that's completely something which you cannot predict because it ends down to how the coalition
will form.
politics works.
Okay,
So,
Asif, your predictions.
No, Tehseen, thank you. This is probably the most unpredictable election in Pakistan since 1970. There
Okay.
are two important variables. One is that how many voters can Imran bring to the polling station, and second, how many voters of PPP, ANP, and MQM are thwarted from voting on the election day.
Okay.
It is very important because where the voters are thwarted from voting, the seats can go to the next most popular candidate in the constituency.
Okay.
I think that the PMLN will emerge as the biggest single party, but it will not have an absolute or a simple majority. It will probably be 90 seats, I agree with Ale.
Okay.
And I would think that Tehreek Insaf will take about 50 seats and People's Party about 50 seats.
Okay, Zaim, your number crunching, please.
Tehseen, we are talking about the vote right now. It's like 35 million vote has been destroyed, 4 million new addition, and then the right and the left wing, the right wing vote division within Punjab will play a very important role for Pakistan People's Party, particularly in coalition with PMLQ.
Okay.
And then most of the time when we see like news channels, we talk about the just urban politics, and we forget about the rural politics where our country 60% of the population is in the rural part. And there, People's Party is very, very strong in
the rural politics. What is your
Yes.
number, Zaim, please? 30 seconds.
Probably, I mean, given that, as I agree with Ali Taj, that might be 75 to 80, and if there is a serious divide of the vote between the right wingers, People's Party might get more seats than that.
Okay.
The minimum that would get is 70 seats at this.
So who you see being the premier of Pakistan?
Well, it could be anybody. It depends on who,
Okay.
But will be a secular.
Will be a secular
party. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Zaim from Oklahoma, USA. Ali Ali Natik from London, and Ali Taj from United States, and Asif Zaidi from Turkmenistan. Thank you very much for joining us. And viewers, only 1 week is left. Everyone should vote, and we, as overseas Pakistani, we will recommend and we will request all Pakistanis based in Pakistan that they should exercise this right, and they should exercise it as their obligation. So hopefully, when we'll join you next week, there will be numbers coming out, and we will be able to find out that who will be forming and where Pakistan will be leading forward. Thank you very much for joining us for today. With this prayer, as always, गम हमको न दे सिवाय गमे शब्बीर शब्बीर का गम बांट रहा है तो इधर दे अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन व आले मुहम्मद.